It's summer in the city. I'm Danforth Prince from Blood Moon Productions on St. Mark's Place in the East Village of New York City. Here to talk to local bookstores about Blood Moon's October release of a new exciting biography about everybody's favorite brunette movie star, Elizabeth Taylor. This book follows in the wake of our recent release of a biography of Marilyn Monroe. The joke is that in our Marilyn Monroe book, we showed America how they should better be screwing around with their blondes. And in this biography of Elizabeth Taylor, we will be demonstrating to America how America should be better screwing around with its brunettes. It was the columnist Liz Smith who said rather sarcastically in the wake of Miss Taylor's death, who said, "Oh, please, what is there new about the life of Elizabeth Taylor that we don't already know?" Blood Moon's response to this, through the authorship of Darwin Porter, is that there is a hell of a lot nobody ever knew about Elizabeth Taylor, all of which will be brought out in this book from Blood Moon by Darwin Porter, There Is Nothing Like a Dame, available in October. It was Dame Elizabeth herself who suggested in an interview with Larry King that no biography of her ever got the story completely right. She said that the biographers missed most of the important points, that if they ever had published everything about her, that she would have been sued. From the very beginning of Dame Elizabeth's life, even her birth was shrouded in controversy. Baby Elizabeth was born in London on February 27, 1932. There is absolutely no doubt that her mother was the B-list Broadway actress Sarah Taylor. There is, however, considerable doubt about who her father was. It is commonly assumed that it was an art dealer, Francis Taylor, but it could well have been Victor Cazalet, a conservative member of Parliament, who was one of the members of a ménage à trois with Sarah and Francis at the time of Elizabeth's birth. Victor, a close friend of Winston Churchill, supported the Taylor family and let them live in luxury on his estate in Kent. He showered presents on young Elizabeth and presented her with her first pony, a gift that perhaps prepared her for her first really prominent role in the 1944 classic, National Velvet. It was a very sophisticated environment, some tenets of which Elizabeth might herself have replicated later in her own life. With the onset of World War II, the Taylors fled to Beverly Hills, where Elizabeth wanted to become Hollywood's next Shirley Temple. Thousands of hopefuls also wanted to assume that role, but Elizabeth actually did. The book reveals many of the interchanges of Elizabeth with Shirley Temple. Divas who feud, the chapter should have been called. It was actually the actor Peter Lawford, who was also British-born, who had taken Elizabeth's virginity during a weekend retreat at the weekend home, San Simeon, of press baron William Randolph Hearst and his longtime companion Marion Davies. At around this time, she appeared with Peter in such films as the 1949 version of Little Women. Movie magazines claimed that when Elizabeth married hotel heir Nicky Hilton, that she went to her bridal bed a virgin. This is not completely true. Elizabeth's most bizarre fling was with the much older Ronald Reagan, when she wanted to star with him in That Hagen Girl, the role eventually going to Shirley Temple. Many people have discounted Elizabeth's assertion that Ronald Reagan seduced her while she was still a teenager. However, the 2011 publication of Piper Laurie's memoirs indeed corroborated the fact that Ronald Reagan was not above dipping into the well of underage female partners during that period of Hollywood history. Almost from the first month of her marriage to Nicky Hilton, Elizabeth discovered he was not only a womanizer, but that he was sleeping with men as well. For a brief time, the handsome screen idol Tyrone Power became Nicky's lover. He was one of 4 bisexuals that Dame Elizabeth married, the others including Michael Wilding, Eddie Fisher, and eventually Richard Burton. When Elizabeth filmed her classic Giant in 1956, she managed to seduce the otherwise gay actors Rock Hudson and James Dean, at least when they weren't sleeping with one another. During the making of Raintree County, Elizabeth got no loving from Monty Clift, so she turned instead, albeit briefly, to the rugged and usually rather crude Lee Marvin. And during the filming of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, her third husband, Mike Todd, died tragically in an airplane crash over New Mexico. She turned to comfort from her co-star, Paul Newman, and indeed in the aftermath, his blue eyes got up close and personal with her violet ones. Our book also covers Dame Elizabeth's saga through the making of one of my favorite movies, the film classic Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, for which Elizabeth won an Oscar, but for which her husband Richard Burton didn't. Their so-called marriage of the century was definitely not one of the traditionally defined unions that conservative congressmen always seem to be talking about. As the tough Welshman told her, I love you. Love is one thing, sex is another. Don't ever expect me to be faithful. Darwin Porter has been studying Elizabeth Taylor's career since he was a gossip columnist for the Miami Herald. He first met Elizabeth at a marina when she was getting out of a yacht with her beau of the time, William Pauley Jr., a millionaire man in Florida that Elizabeth was dating. I don't think his family approved of her. Darwin later recites how he was researching for the Frommer Guide to Italy, of which he was the author, the developer, the creator of that guide. He was researching bars and restaurants along the waterfront of Portofino on the Italian Riviera. Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton got off their yacht unexpectedly. A lot of women from the hills around Portofino came down from the hills, waving their bambini, wanting Elizabeth to buy one. Adopt my child, the price is blah blah. Darwin Porter and Stanley Haggart retired into a bar on the waterfront, a bar called La Grita American Bar. Evidently Elizabeth and Richard Burton felt the same thing. Into La Grita they came with Rex Harrison. They sat at a table. Darwin Porter and Stanley sat at a table 3 tables away. And then an evening of heavy drinking and heavier gossip began. The movie stars did not acknowledge Darwin or Stanley in their corner, but gossip was told about the filming of Cleopatra. It went on for hours. Darwin recorded every word. Much of what was said that night ended up in this book. Darwin was especially grateful for 2 very important sources for this book. One of them was Dick Hanley. Dick Hanley had been the assistant to Louis B. Mayer, whoa, for 13 years. Dick befriended Elizabeth during her early years as a contract player. Dick Hanley then worked for Mike Todd, and when Mike Todd was killed tragically in the airplane crash over New Mexico, Elizabeth hired Dick Hanley as her handler and private secretary. Dick consequently grew to know more about Miss Taylor than virtually anyone. He knew a lot about her. He related a lot about her to Darwin Porter. He knew where the skeletons were buried, and he was delighted to talk about it as he matured and aged and traveled with Darwin a bit in Spain, always telling tales about Elizabeth Taylor and her foibles. Darwin has dedicated the book to Dick Hanley and also to Roddy McDowall, whose anecdotes about Miss Taylor were told all over Hollywood. So over the years, many of Elizabeth Taylor's friends and enemies, everyone from Mary Astor to Tallulah Bankhead, would come forth with anecdotes about Elizabeth Taylor. Some of them were raunchy, some of them were unflattering, all of them were revealing, some of them were loving and very admiring. But the combination of these anecdotes has added a wealth to this biography of Elizabeth Taylor that really can't be matched in any other recitation of her life. It's all here in Blood Moon's newest release. The illicit sex, the booze, the brawls, the undying passion, the paparazzi, the jewelry, the hedonism, the stories that made America take up and watch what was indeed going on in Rome during the filming of Cleopatra. The saga of Elizabeth Taylor covers the apogee of the American century in ways no other actress did and no other celebrity could. I have grown to adore Elizabeth Taylor after this project is over. Whoopi Goldberg called Elizabeth Taylor a great broad. How proud we are that this biography of Elizabeth Taylor really does bring that out in celebration of a great American movie star. I'm Danforth Prince from Blood Moon Productions here in the East Village, talking about the upcoming release of Elizabeth Taylor, There Is Nothing Like a Dame by Darwin Porter. Thank you for taking a look at it.